By 2015, the horror genre within video games was arguably booming. 2010 would show the world Amnesia. 2013 would offer games like Outlast and its Whistleblower DLC. And 2014 would spark a new interest within indie horror with the release of the first FNAF game. The undeniable popularity of these games would bring forth many like them. This brings us back to 2015, and the game I would like to take a look at today, The Park. Publisher and developer Funcom would release the game on October 27, 2015 to decent attention and mild critical acclaim. The video game, I put in air quotes, you'll see why later, is labeled as a psychological horror. So, with all of this outlined, let's understand the context the game gives before looking at it. The game summary reads, set in a creepy amusement park hiding a dark secret, the park is a 1 to 2 hour long first-person psychological horror experience focusing on intense storytelling and exploration instead of combat and action. There is more to it, but that does help us get prepared for what we're looking at. So now it is truly time to look at The Park. Where else better to start than the actual gameplay of the game? The park offers a very limited gameplay variety that at worst just boils down to a spooky walking simulator, and at best is a spooky walking simulator, but with some slight exploration and scripted cutscene type sections. Okay, so maybe I'm just kinda being mean, but the game seriously does not offer all that much. You just go from point A to point B, call your child, say some edgy psycho dialogue, and watch a cool little horror moment like the tunnel or roller coaster. This brings me back to my initial point of this not really being a game, it's a playable movie, which isn't bad to say. There are games like Until Dawn which do the interactive movie thing pretty good. The thing here is that Until Dawn and other games like it offer more than just a walking simulator, and it had much more meat on the bone for the price it was offered. That's another smaller problem I'll touch on at the end. But yes, the park doesn't offer anything special on the gameplay department. And I get that's not really the point, since the game does specify that it's more story and exploration based than action. But there are games like the previously mentioned Outlast and FNAF that, while wanting the player to focus more on the story, still offer a decent enough gameplay loop to not annoy you anytime you replay them. So, in summary, yes, the gameplay of the park is unfortunately rather weak and makes the game a big one and done, at least for me personally. Thankfully, the next section will be making up for this, at least somewhat. So while the overall gameplay of the park does leave something to be desired, the story and narrative is the main attraction of the game that does help improve the experience. Slightly. The park brings the player down some different rabbit holes, in particular, the damaged psyche of the main character, and the actual ongoing mystery about the park itself. Now, before I decide to go forward, I might as well put up the painfully obvious spoiler warning. Have you left yet? Okay. First, let's touch on the player character, Lorraine. At the start of the game, we arrive at the Atlantic amusement park with no real context other than a lost toy, I think it was. Anyways, after some foreshadowing in losing our son, we go up a time-traveling escalator and truly begin the game in the Hansel and Gretel tunnel, where after this moment, our character becomes more paranoid, going through past incidents and visions, along with saying the occasional unhinged line about her or her son. This all builds up until the climax section in the haunted house, where it is revealed why Lorraine is so troubled, through medical documents, personal notes, and a changing environment that is shamelessly taken from PT. It's still good though. Oh, also we kill Callum the child, but I'll touch on that in a bit. I find that Lorraine's part of the story is quite interesting and usually had me questioning her past, intentions, and relation with the park itself, which you do get to find out as you progress with other reveals such as the death of her boyfriend while working on the Ferris wheel, or telling us about her unhinged father. As a final note, I have to give the game some credit with how it really immerses you in the shoes of this clearly sick individual. Okay, so now what about the park itself? Well, while I can't give a complete summary, I'll again give credit for the game interesting me in the mystery of what's going on. It constantly shows you clues and glimpses of the incidents that took place, yet never directly tells you what's going on. Hell, sometimes I found myself wondering if the place was supposed to be real, or a figment of Lorraine's mind. So with this segment started to conclude, let's cover the ending, where again I can give nothing but praise, as although it does come a bit out of nowhere, it perfectly represents the game's ability to keep you guessing. Obviously, Lorraine most likely didn't kill her child on a slab, but with all of the different lines and clues throughout the game, there are multiple conclusions any person can come up with. Personally, I think that the kid died because of malnutrition and neglect that came from Lorraine's drug abuse, and the park we play is built from the guilt she feels, but that's just me. Another theory I've heard with some backing behind it is that Lorraine may have cannibalized Callum and reported him missing, feeling guilty for what she's done. But like I said, it's up to you. In conclusion, the story of the park is actually quite strong, and the main thing I was able to enjoy most about the game. But it also does bring up a problem, that the best way to enjoy this game, honestly, is through some YouTubers' playthrough, instead of trying it yourself. But now with all of this covered, let's finally go ahead and wrap this up.
A child goes missing in Atlantic Island Park. He wanders lost for a time before finding his way into the mouth of an old witch.
The park was a short and enjoyable experience that, while strong in aspects like the mystery and story of the park itself, unfortunately fall flat on things like gameplay and an extremely linear pacing, leaving the game as a good one-time experience, or you don't have to play it at all because, like I previously stated, the game is best experienced through a YouTuber. Overall, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. It's an alright little experience that I think is priced a bit too high for the content you receive. Anyways, this is Alex Lackey on 08, and thank you for those who viewed this. Goodbye.